Week 10 of the fantasy football season. Here's the top 12 kickers I'm ranking this week. Number 1, Justin Tucker of the Baltimore Ravens. So Justin Tucker, it's been a solid year for him. He's in one of the better offenses in all pro football. And Tucker versus Cincinnati this week, we know they're going to put points on the board, both teams. This is Thursday Night Football. Points are always scored, no matter the teams for the most part. So Tucker's got a big boot. This team's putting up almost 30 points a game, is the Baltimore Ravens, and the opportunities are going to be there. Once again, number 2, Ka'im Fairbairn of the Houston Texans. So Fairbairn, he's got a nice boot. Nico Collins possibly returning to the lineup this week versus the Detroit Lions. Obviously adds a boost to this offense, and they're going to get more opportunities in the red zone. So this week, Sunday Night Football, like I said, they know they got to put points on the board versus Detroit, and Fairbairn might be trotted out there on some long ones just to keep points on the scoreboard. And he's been one of the more accurate and better kickers this season as well. Number 3, Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs. Harrison Butker, it's been a solid year for him. I know the offense hasn't been like it was other seasons, but last week we saw a glimpse of it with DeAndre Hopkins added in, and he was a big acquisition for this Kansas City Chief team. And I think they're going to start putting more points on the board. So this week, versus a bend but don't break type of Denver defense for the most part, besides last week where it was a ball game, they just got blown out. I think opportunities are going to be there for Butker. We know he's one of the more accurate kickers in the league, and he has that 50, 55-yard range boot. Number 4, Austin Seibert of the Washington Commanders. So Austin Seibert, he's got a long-distance boot. He's on a high-powered offense. And this week versus a defense where they don't give up a lot of touchdowns on the season, I think opportunities are going to be there for Austin Seibert, where they're going to trot him out there for a couple 40, 50-yarders in this one. And he's been one of the more consistent kickers in all fantasy football with 8 or more fantasy points every game this season, besides one, number 5, Chris Boswell, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Chris Boswell, Brandon Aubrey, they're close in the rankings this week, but I think Boswell might have a few more opportunities in this one where this Commander defense is starting to improve over the last couple weeks here. And Chris Boswell, one of the more accurate kickers of all time, especially from 50-plus yards. He's automatic, so 3 games in a row with double-digit fantasy points. This offense has definitely improved a little bit with Russell Wilson at quarterback. And I think this week at Washington, they know they got to put points on the board if they want to pull out the victory. And Boswell, I think they trot him out there for a couple long ones as well. Number 6, Brandon Aubrey of the Dallas Cowboys. So yes, his stock's going to drop down just a bit, but the Cowboys, they're still going to be getting opportunities for Aubrey. This Cowboy team realistically only has to get to about the 38, 40-yard line, and they're going to try to Aubrey out there. His range is up to 65 yards. This week versus Philadelphia, they know they got to put points on the board if they want to pull this ball game out somehow as this Dallas Cowboy team. And like I said, Brandon Aubrey, we've seen it 60-plus many times this season, and this Cowboy team just has to get to the 40 to at least be in his field goal range in an indoor game as well at home, which always helps. Number 7, Younghoe Koo of the Atlanta Falcons. So no doubt about it, the numbers have dropped off over the last few weeks with this Atlanta Falcon team's finding the end zone more than settling for field goals. So this week a matchup indoors in New Orleans, a game early in the year where Younghoe Koo had great success and put up over 15 fantasy points. I believe they're going to get opportunities once again for Younghoe Koo, and he's always been a better indoor kicker like most kickers than he's been outside. So this week in a matchup where points are going to be put up, I think Younghoe Koo bounces back. Number 8, Cameron Dicker, the Los Angeles Chargers. So Dicker, I know the last couple weeks the numbers have dropped off, but this week a good matchup versus the Tennessee Titans where they give up top 5 points to kickers on the season. So Dicker back home, indoor game, which is always a plus for any kicker. And this Los Angeles Charger offense, they're starting to find their stride and starting to put more points on the board. Dobbins is playing great football. Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, the last couple weeks they're putting up fantasy points and making plays for this Los Angeles Charger team. And like I said, Tennessee, for the most part, besides those 2 games versus Buffalo and obviously the Lions a few weeks ago, their defense is forcing teams to kick field goals, and that's a good thing for Dicker. Number 9, Evan McPherson of the Cincinnati Bengals. It's been an up and down year for McPherson. His 50-plus yard boot hasn't been all that great this season here, but we know he's still a kicker that's going to go out there, have his good weeks. And this week in a potential shootout on Thursday night where points are going to be put on the board by both teams, and going back to early in the season where it was up and down the field between these 2 teams, I think McPherson has a decent ball game. Number 10, Jake Elliott of the Philadelphia Eagles. So an indoor ball game at the Dallas Cowboys. Elliott, obviously, he steps his game up versus NFC East opponents, it just seems like over the last few seasons. So this Eagle offense, they're playing great football. They're putting points on the board since A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith returned to the lineup 3-4 weeks ago. And I know A.J. Brown might not be 100% or even playing this game, but the opportunities are going to be there. And even if Micah Parsons is back for this Cowboy team, I think this Eagle offense is going to drive down the field most drives. Number 11, Tyler Bass of the Buffalo Bills. So Bass, he's been shaky for the most part this season, but last week he won the ball game for Buffalo and possibly saved his job, hitting a 61-yard field goal to walk it off versus the Miami Dolphins. So Tyler Bass, he's always had a big boot, but the accuracy's definitely been an issue for him. But the good news this week, he's indoors at the Indianapolis Colts, and their defense at times is bend but don't break. So I think Tyler Bass could go out there and put in a decent performance. And the 12th and final kicker on rankings, Joshua Carty of the Los Angeles Rams. So it's been a solid year here for Joshua Carty. And now with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back in the lineup over the last couple of weeks here, I think Joshua Carty could go out there and put some points on the board. This Miami defense, they can't stop anyone. We saw it the last 2 weeks, 28 points to the Cardinals, 30 points to the Buffalo Bills. And this Los Angeles Ram offense, it's a juggernaut when everyone's healthy, obviously. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Kyren Williams out of the backfield. DeMarcus Robinson doing good work as the number 3 wide receiver. And this week, I think Carty, top 12 options. So that's the top 12 kickers I'm ranking for week 10 of the fantasy football season.